Guys, I'm super excited for this conversation because, as some of you might know, I started my career, quote unquote, doing landscaping. Started in middle school, maybe even elementary school. I can't remember the exact year I started, but I started with cutting grass. I started with laying mulch and then helping outdoor remodeling. So a lot of what I learned in business came from landscaping. Super excited to have this guest with us today to talk about landscaping, but he's not just a landscaper. He's also a phenomenal business leader. He has a great mindset and a great first name, Matt Hiner. Welcome to the Define Success podcast.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So, first things first, what got you into landscaping? When did you start?
Yeah, so that similar to you, it started out as just a high school summer job, just a way to get some gas money. My dad built homes, and so he had a landscaping crew in house that did all the landscaping for these new homes he built, and I use the term crew loosely because it was literally just me and some like 50-something-year-old one-eyed man from Vietnam named Hen Lee. And so he was kind of just bossing me around, trying to, teach me all the ways of landscaping. So that's how I got into the industry, or exposed to it first and foremost. So.
Awesome. Can you tell the audience about your company now?
Sure. I've now been in business for myself for over 13 years. We own Hiner Outdoor Living. We're in the process of splitting the brand a little bit into Hiner & Co., which is our retail side of things, to kind of serve even more people. And so I literally started the company with the last $300 I had to my name.
Wow.
And this year will be probably north of $5 million in revenue, with 3 different divisions and a team of, over 23 and growing strong. So
That's amazing. Congratulations. And just listening to previous interviews you had and following you on social media, it's so impressive to me how an individual like yourself can make such an impact, such a profit in spaces that people might not consider. Like we said a couple of minutes ago, we both started in landscaping as we're growing up to get some extra money, to get some extra experience. But not many people that start that way see it as this could be a career. This could be something that's making me $5 million. So what encouragement do you have for someone to, follow your passion and make money doing anything?
Yeah, I'd like to first kind of start off with saying that it wasn't always that way for me. It did kind of, I graduated high school with a 2.7 GPA. I didn't get into any colleges really. All my friends got into all these, D1 colleges. I'm going to community college, starting over what classes that felt like high school all over again. And it really just kind of built up a lot of head trash for me, just kind of playing it, being a landscaper and playing into I'm never going to amount to anything in my life. And so, the flip really didn't get switched for me until probably like 6 or 7 years ago,
Okay.
even 6 years into owning my own business. And so, I had met my wife, and so we were dating. And then when we got engaged, I kind of had to put it into high gear of, oh, I need to start making money. I've got a wife that I want to be able to support. And so I leaned on to landscaping as kind of the only skill set that I had going for me. I like being outside. I'm a creative person by nature, and I love creating things. And, so landscaping is something I liked, but was kind of ashamed of at the same time too, because it just played into the 7th grade science teacher telling me that I was just going to be a burger flipper the rest of my life, and just all the head trash that kind of stuck with me. And so being a landscaper was really just kind of holding me back mentally, thinking that this is all I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to make a lot of money. And in turn, it held me back from charging real business prices and charging what I was worth. And then it wasn't until I really started kind of my Yardist account, my personal brand on Instagram, was when I started looking at what I did was an art form. And anything that you do could be an art form, so long as you are passionate about what you're doing and just putting everything into it. I mean, you don't need to be an artist in what you're doing, but you just kind of have to care about what you're doing, and it doesn't have to be passion. I think passion is something that's thrown around pretty loosely. And I think the younger generation this day and age is like, I need to find my passion. I need to, what is the perfect formula that's going to make me succeed? And I think people look into that way too hard, that like the passion can be just from the reaction and the solution that you create for your customer, your client, or whatever you're doing, as long as there's pieces of the job that you love, you got to hone in on what it is that makes you tick, and run with that portion of the project. There's plenty of things about landscaping and the business side of things that I do not like, but it's all a
Mhm.
mindset on what you're focusing on that's going to carry you through, and build on that passion.
Yeah, I love that. And the message of the seventh grade teacher you said, I can relate to that so much going through my landscaping journey. I remember when I was getting older throughout high school and saying like, hey, I'm going to college, might not be here in the spring or the fall, like we're gonna need some extra help. And my clients would be like, oh, you're going to college or you're not doing this for the rest of your life. And just kind of like being like, I thought this is all you were. And it they might not have meant it in a negative way, but it comes across as negative. Like I have more potential. And also, if I stuck into landscaping like you are, there's so much opportunity there. You're
Mhm.
making $5 million a year. So someone that's thinking like, oh, you're just gonna cut my grass for $40. Like, no, there's so much more to it. There's so much opportunity.
I know so many millionaires that started out cutting grass. I
Yeah.
know more wealthy people that didn't go to college that started by a simple trade and just built on it. And just by doing the right thing and serving clients and solving problems, I have made way more money doing that than they ever would going to school for 10 years to become a
Mhm.
doctor or whatnot. I mean, then you're slave to the job, you're slave to the craft.
Yep.
So like if you really want to break free and have earning potential, uh, sales and entrepreneurship are really the two best avenues that you can go.
Completely agree. And I've learned so much throughout my journey, like you said, with working with customers, like the whole idea of communication, being on time, going the extra mile. Like these are things that you don't always get working at a grocery store growing up or working at a sporting goods store, like little things that people do throughout high school. They don't have those kind of interactions. They don't have the responsibility that you're the one that's got to get up. If you need help, you got to outsource it or you got to do this XYZ to actually like bring in revenue.
Yeah, I feel pendulum swinging the other way. I feel like there was a huge push of just kind of white collar. I still think kids these days just want to be YouTube famous and that kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
I do think that there is a momentum shift back to the trades.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot more potential to make a better living having a craft and working with your hands again than there was. I mean, we're so connected to our phones and our technology these days that I think humans are hungry for that real life interaction that just doesn't that you can't get on a screen. I think that's what that motivates me and drives me and my team is to just get people connected with Mother Nature outside, sitting around the fire pit, listening to the water, just
Mhm.
being grounded and having real conversations face to face with people. And so that's what motivates us. And I just feel like things are going back away from technology a little bit, uh, but in a different kind of way, obviously, as we continue to grow.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. And right now, the way the education system is, someone might go through several years of college or school, whatever they do, they're not guaranteed a job and you're not guaranteed that experience after college. But if you want to get into a trade, I mean, whether you go to trade school or you just go right after college, like everyone needs their grass cut. If not, you're going to get fined.
Yeah.
Everyone needs plumbing. If not, your house is not going to function. So these critical jobs that society operates on, like so much credit to these people. And there's nothing wrong with it. But the problem is like people are discounted for going that route. And they think it's not a profitable way to, have a career. But they're so crucial. And I love that point for you just by saying like there is other ways than going to school, being a doctor, being a lawyer. Like there's so many more opportunities if that's something you want to do.
Yep. Going to school is not about bad route either.
Yeah.
I've got a designer that works for me that did go the school route. I mean, I believe if that's the place you learn, stick with it because he's fast tracked. He's 10 years ahead of me than
Mm,
where I was at 20, 25, 26, wherever he's at. And so I don't want to discount school altogether.
yeah.
I think it's a good route to go. It just wasn't the route for me, but I just don't want people to believe that that's like a hard stop, a roadblock. It just
Yeah.
might be a hurdle or a speed bump.
It's a good
So
point.
keep going.
Yeah. Matt, you mentioned your Instagram. It's the Yardist on Instagram. I encourage anybody to check it out. Even if you're not huge into landscaping, the stuff that he does and his company does is absolutely beautiful. I think everybody will appreciate it. But you have a pretty big following on Instagram. I think that's what a lot of people might be surprised with. Of it's a landscaping business. He's someone that Yeah, good.
surprised myself, man. I don't know how it really happened. I think it only takes a few to really just kind of get out there for people to
Hmm.
share. And some of the favorite comments I get are they came for the yard inspiration, stayed for the quotes or and the captions. And
Mm,
it's become like I'll put a good before and after of yards. I feel like that's kind of been my thing on Instagram, to where it's like, hey, that before that looks like my yard, and then you swipe to the next photo or whatever it is, and it's like, whoa, that like you can barely tell it's even the same
yeah.
place. So
Hmm.
people come and they see that transformation and they appreciate that, but then they'll read the caption and it has absolutely nothing to do with the yard or what we did. Like it might be a story of how my son got picked on at football practice and what I
Hmm.
did as a dad to meet him where he was at, and just kind of just humanizes me and just what we, and just it's more become like a blog per se of what I am. So people have connected with me through the captions that I'll spend some time writing when I have the time to do it.
Yeah.
But I think that's just kind of what's made that page as successful as it is.
Hmm.
So
What encouraged you to take that step to become more transparent and more present on social media?
uh, I think that's a good question. I would say it all started out with I feel like social media has just been a huge place, a facade to hide behind,
Hmm.
and I felt like people are really hungry for that real connection and that vulnerability. And it's like I mean, to be completely candid, I've spent several years in a counseling room just kind of working through some of that stuff, that those breakthroughs, and I've seen both sides of what that head trash brings and what it's like to be on the other side. And that's a gift that's been given to me that I want to be able to share with people.
Hmm.
And just part of my past, being bullied in middle school, and just kind of being beat down into something that was pretty sheepish, that has allowed me to break through into kind of like the man that I am today. And I just find joy in helping people just kind of get to where I'm at, because such a better place to live, and I think everybody's got that potential in them. And sharing some of those stories, I don't like to just share a story that comes across as whining without some sort of a solution or a
Hmm.
conclusion. So normally if I'm going through something, I'm just going through it, and then when I find the solution, I'll write about it then, because I want people to know that, hey, as long as you keep trying, you don't let it beat you down, you only lose when you quit. So
Yeah.
that's I just got a taste of it, and I saw the response it got. I'm like, wow, this actually really did help people. And so I just started doing it again, and doing it again. So
Yeah, that's amazing. Social media is so powerful to show like how much of an impact you can make. You might have, I mean, you do have thousands of fans out there that you might never meet, but you make an impact on them every single day, every single time you post. And it's true for many different people. Before we got on the call here, we talked about Tom Reber, who was a previous guest speaker. Like he's doing the same thing. He's doing contracting stuff, but he's also talking about his mindset, talking about business, and it's inspiring to people. Like me personally, I'm not a contractor, but I'm going to follow him because I love the message that he puts out. And
yeah.
whether, someone meets you or meets Tom or whoever you look up to in life, it doesn't matter because the message is there. You can feel like you have that personal connection just by hitting that follow button.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's real important to be mindful of who you follow and who you don't. Like I think it's even more mindful to pay attention to who you shouldn't be following.
Yeah.
When you see their posts, is it lifting you up? Is it bringing and adding value to your life, or is it dragging you down with somebody's highlight reel that's fake? Or is it sparking comparison and that kind of stuff? Like social media is what you make it. And
Hmm.
you can make it a toxic environment for you, or you can make it a positive experience for you.
Yeah.
So
100%. I think one of the most relieving things I do is start unfollowing people that I just like I see things that either, I really don't agree with it or something that I just like this is draining me, like I don't need to see this every day. It's going to upset me or aggravate me. Like just get it away. Like people always complain about negativity on social media, but they're the ones following those accounts. They're the ones going on it 10 times a day. So if you just clear out the negativity, like who
oh
cares
yeah.
if someone doesn't follow you? Just like get over it and then you're going to be so much more happy on the space.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Matt, before we get any further, want to ask you, how do you define the word success?
Oh man, that's a good question. Success is, to me, enjoying the journey. You know, yeah, finding the happiness is where you at, being
Mhm.
blissfully discontent, just, still being hungry for more, but then at the same time being grateful for where I am. So, and if you can be that, that's success to me. There's no dollar amount, there's no nothing. You can strip it all away. It's all a mindset. And so, and money can be remade.
Yeah.
So
It's a great definition. You are someone that is very inspiring to many people on social media, but also your team that you work with. You've developed a very successful business. You guys are improving every single year. What are some things that you preach to your team, your business, that helps them stay productive every day?
we're leaders building leaders.
I like that.
And, we really lean on our core values. I think the old school thought of core values is to have four one-liners with a paragraph.
Yeah.
We're quality, leadership. Like we've defined our core values into 12 of them, and
Wow.
so we use those as our compass to guide ourselves and to make decisions. We make them for hiring and firing decisions, disciplinary for how we treat our customers and all that kind of stuff. And so um, we really look at that as what they're supposed to be, our core values. That's who we are. That's how we run our lives in our business. And so if we can do that, that's how we're going to be leaders building leaders.
That's great. Can you give us a sneak peek of some of those 12?
Sure. Our first one is to build positive win-win relationships. And so, we're all going to run into that customer that just wants to take and push the envelope and that kind of stuff. And it's like, so I tell my team, it's like, look, it's okay to say no. Sometimes you're going to have to take a time out and reevaluate the situation, make sure that we're building, is it a positive win-win relationship? I
Mhm.
added the positive in there because I wanted to make sure that, it can be a win-win, but if it's not positive, it's still draining. And so
Yeah.
that positive win-win relationship is going to, steer the ship in the right direction. Our second one is one that's really important to me, and that's better than yesterday.
Mm.
We're not in competition with the other landscapers or the other things. We're in competition with ourselves, and the only way to win that game is to just be better than yesterday. And
Yep.
so we use that as a core value to just continually improve no matter what it is that we do. Next one is like roll the red, and that one I stole from my friend Tom Reber, and that basically translate, are we creating a red carpet experience for our
Mm.
customers? Like, are we rolling out that red carpet? Are they feeling like a celebrity being a customer of ours? Like, are we bringing that extra to the table? And so that's just, a quick little 3-word liner that I can say to my team. They know exactly what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
That's really
uh,
cool.
so I can keep going. I could go all down all of them. I'm really passionate about our core values here. So you stop me wherever
Those are
you want.
great. Can we get two more? Two more important
Works.
ones?
So I would say next one is just being proactive. Like, how are we thinking multi steps ahead? That one's pretty self-explanatory. And then the other one is another good one is play the long game.
Mm.
And so there's going to be instances in business to where you might need to lose the game so you can win the season, or lose the battle to win the war,
Yeah.
depending on how you want to word it. But you might have to make a decision in when we're building a project where it might not be in the contract, but it's something that we overlooked. And, I might come to you and say, hey, Matt, we forgot this and it's going to be $1,000 more. That's going to leave a bad experience for
Right.
you. And, we're the ones that made the mistake. We're going to have to own it. We need to play the long game here and just know that, we can afford to eat this, but we got to play the long game and know that this is what's going to happen. Play the long game also means we're in growth mode at our company. We're going to have to take from our profits that we would be making right now and make a new hire to build a position that's going to help us make more money later. And
Mm.
so by playing that long game, we're taking a short-term hit on this year's profits to hire that project manager, hire that next salesperson in order to prep us for that future growth.
I like that. And that applies for everything in life. And you have to see the bigger picture when you're going
Mhm.
towards your goals. Like there was one quote I saw, it was like, if you want to make $1 million, if you have $1 to your name right now, and you're not going to invest 10 cents into yourself, into your business, or whatever it is, you're not going to invest $100,000 when you have 1 million. It's understanding that you have to throw some money away sometimes. Obviously, be smart about it. Or if you're trying to, achieve a fitness goal, you might have a bad day in the gym. But if the ultimate goal is like, I need to stay healthy, I need to get stronger, sometimes you're just like, I'm going to call it quits. I'm going to work on something else. And we're still going to get a little bit better today, but it's not what I envisioned. And it's
Yep.
okay to understand that.
Yep. I'll give you one more, and that's have fun.
Yeah, I like that.
In our company, we have to have fun. I don't know if, and I keep pushing that on our social media team to just make sure that we're showing the shenanigans that happen behind the scenes, that we're not just building beautiful spaces, but we're having fun along the way. And I want our clients and our future employees to see that, like we're just a great company to be around and to
Yeah.
do business with.
I
So,
love that. Those are great principles to have as a leader. And a lot of the stuff I've been listening to lately or reading has a lot to do with team leadership and being a business leader. So I want to ask you, as a leader, what kind of ownership do you take on your company's success and failures? I saw a quote today that said, when your company does something well, it is we. We did it well. But if your company does something wrong, it is I. You take ownership yourself. You don't blame your coworker or the accountant or whatever it is. You're taking that
yeah.
ownership as a leader. So, can you give your perspective on that?
Oh, yeah. Well, you're getting another core value of ours, actually, which is to take ownership and initiative. And
Mhm.
so, uh, I couldn't, I don't know if I can say it better than the quote that you just said. You 100% as a leader need to give credit back to your team.
Yeah.
And then when you have to own those failures individually, and um, I could speak to that on a million different examples of what it is. But in short, yeah, it's like you got to set up for your team. You got to set your team up for success. And if not, if they failed, that you failed, and you need to figure out why and take that ownership on what it is that you did wrong.
Hmm.
There was, and it might not come to you right away. I think there's sometimes you're going to have to sit back, go spend some time alone, reflect, and figure out where it went wrong, how you can take ownership. There was one season, it was probably the worst year I had in business, where I had one of the biggest jobs I'd ever sold to date. And it was a huge $150,000 water feature.
Wow.
Um, and it was the first time we had built something probably this big. So I was really nervous as it was. But when we sold the job, the owners came to me and said, "Hey, it's really important that if we go with you, you can get this done next month."
Hmm.
And next month was like May. So we had this conversation in April, and I was like, "Yeah, we can get this done. Here's the contract. I need you to sign it so I can get the deposit. I got to order these materials right away if we're going to make these deadlines." And so, long story short, May comes. Hey, we are ready to mobilize. They come back and they're like, "Hey, you know, we need to postpone this a couple weeks. We're not just quite ready for you." A couple weeks, okay, sure. This point in my business, I'm not that big. I have like a crew and a half. And so, the fact that I was committing my crew for 2.5 months to build this in the busiest part of my season meant that the stakes were high. Like I felt like, hey, we're gonna have a great year. I've got this big job lined up. Right now we're going to cruise through the year. And so sales are coming in, and people or call leads are coming in. They're saying, "Hey, we'd like to get a quote." I'm like, "Awesome. I'd love to help you out. However, we're booked up a couple months. Is that an issue?" "Oh, no, we need that done sooner." So I'm now missing out on job opportunities because I've got this big job in the pipeline that's sold, deposit made,
Yep.
everything. Well, fast forward, they started just postponing me 2 weeks at a time, 2 weeks at a time. And I'm like constantly reacting to the situation and just trying to figure out, how am I going to fill the next 2 weeks? Where am I
Yeah.
going to put the crew? I need to sell something real quick. There's days where we didn't have anything. I had to send guys
Mhm.
home in the busiest part of the year. And it's like, well, we ended up having the worst season of our life because I just wasn't organized. We got to like August and they said, "Hey, Matt, we're going to have to punt this till fall, till October or whatnot." I'm like, "Okay." So now I'm at the end of the season, nobody really wants anything. And I'm still just struggling to make sales and keep guys busy at this point. We get to October, they're like, they started the same thing over again. Hey, we need 2 months. I'm like, all right, guys, like I need some clear answers. So December hits, and they literally just sent me a letter canceling the contract, and they went with one of my competitors to save. They net saved themselves like $10,000 on a $150,000 job.
Jeez.
And so like, I think Tom Reber could tell you the story of this one, because like this is happening and I'm like feeling so down. I wanted to give up. I felt like such a failure at this point. I felt like I let my whole crew down. I didn't even know what I did wrong at that point. I'm like, I did not feel like I was the leader that all my team was entrusting in. And it's like, here we are right before Christmas with no work, no cash flow, no anything. And one customer that just dragged me along all year. And I just felt completely beat up. And I could have very easily just said, it's their fault.
Yeah.
Blamed them, not my fault. It's like, but no, like, and this was probably the hardest one, because I still don't feel like I have 100% closure on where I went wrong, except for the fact that I now just take ownership of my schedule. It's like, you know what? You want us, I come in when we say, and if you cancel me once, you go to the back of the line.
Yep.
And it's like, you're like, I put you in on this slot. I made that promise. You broke your promise. Then we get to you when it's convenient for us, because I'm making promises that I'm going to keep, and you're not going to make a liar out of me. And so that was the ownership that took me. And Matt, it probably took me 8 months to figure that one out.
Really?
But I was losing sleep night after night. It just kept me up. I did not know how to handle it. And, sometimes you just got to keep hacking away at the same problem until you find the solution. And that comes with taking ownership, because had I not said that's their fault and moved on, you're going to fall for the same trap again and again.
Yep. Yeah. It's a great story. And another thing with that is your team's outlook on it. Yes, you might see, we took an L here. This is a failure for the company. They just drug us along. We lost money, blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, people might agree, like, that was a failure. But the way they viewed you through that situation was, he led by example. He's not saying, hey, team, I need you to take over everything. I'm not going to have any say in this. I'm just going to hang out at home. You're like, how can I find more work? How can I fix this situation? Even though it took maybe a year to like finally resolve everything, like, you were leading by example. I think that is the most crucial aspect of being a leader. Vince Lombardi said, leading by example is not the most important thing to be a leader. It's the only way to be a leader.
Yeah.
You have to be the one on the front line doing the work. If, you got to clean up the office after, you're doing that. You're showing everyone that you're not too big for the little tasks, because if you are, then the big tasks are too big for you. So I love that example. And I think that can show a lot of people that even if you do have hardships in business or whatever you're doing, stick with it, be a leader in your team, and everything's going to work out.
100%.
Yeah. And I have an example for you, a landscaping example with leading by example. So I've been doing I did a mulching project every year for like 4 years straight. It was my biggest project of the year. I did it in May when I got home from college. And it was about, I think, 30 cubic yards of mulch. And it was on like this big property, slanted, front yard. Like, it was tough. So I was like, this is going to take me several days. I needed to bring a crew with me. So I got a couple of guys help me out, and we did it. We knocked it out every single time. And every single year, the group kind of changed a little bit year to year, but every single year, finished up 5-6 hours or whatever, everybody sees the mulch pile gone. They're sitting in the grass, eating their lunch, drinking water. I'm there, like, I'm brooming and I'm like blowing everything off the rocks, and I'm cleaned up our supplies. And they're like, what are you doing that for? We finished, like, we should relax. And the fact of them seeing me as the business owner, the one that is leading them on this project, like, we're going to clean up and we're going to get out of here. Like, job's not done yet. Then they're like, all right, we got to get our ass up and actually help out.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's crucial for everything. Any type of business you're in, any type of responsibility you're in, even if you're not the owner, the CEO, whatever, like, be a leader and people will follow you.
Yeah. Well, the story I just told, I gotta interesting enough, the guy that takes care of that water feature
Hmm.
that we kind of got burned on, he's a friend of mine. He didn't even know that was the backstory of how I got drug along. He called me yesterday and said, this thing's an absolute mess. It's got
Oh.
algae all over it. Hey, can you guys come and give me a quote to figure out how we can fix this thing? I'm like, I'm like, dude, do you know what happened? I just told
Yeah.
him the story I just shared. I was like, I had this thing designed to avoid this very conversation we're
Yep.
having. I'm like, I wish they didn't burn me like this, because I had your guys' best interest at heart.
Yep.
And so, the other thing is I dug my heels, I stuck to my ground, because they asked me, why is this so expensive? I said, because we've got all these things, and they still decided to go a cheaper route, and they
Hmm.
saved themselves $10,000, but it's going to cost them $10,000 just to clean it up this
Yeah.
year. So it's like, play the long game. One of
Hmm.
our core values. I do that with the solutions that we provide. You
Yeah.
might be paying more now, but you're gonna get more in the long term, better
Yeah.
return on your investment.
They always come back, Matt.
It always comes
If you're
back.
doing the right thing, they're always coming back.
Oh yeah. So
um,
that's
go,
why it's important to just keep your opinions to yourself sometimes, especially while you're working through it. Just keep professional
yeah.
and keep plugging away.
Yeah, maintain that relationship. You never know what could come from it, whether it's business with that same person or maybe they refer you to someone else. Like it could be limitless if you just, maintain professional relationship.
Exactly.
All right. So going away from landscaping for a little bit, I'm very intrigued about your personal development journey. You talk a lot about reading books, networking with people. Can you explain at what point in your life you were like, hey, I need to, start developing my mind more, reading books and uh, developing myself personally?
Yeah, that didn't come naturally. I made it all through high school without reading a single book.
Most of us
So,
did.
right, yeah. Um, and so, like, it just turned out that I had a job right outside of high school that um, I was in charge of. Just, it was like part security guy, part like, construction superintendent for a
Hmm.
really massive, like 60-acre development where they were building roads and laying like sewer lines and water lines and gas lines and just building the infrastructure out. And so I got hired to go sit out there and make sure kids weren't driving their dirt bikes and running over their stakes. They spent thousands of dollars being put in place. And so um, I was sitting there and not much to do. This was before you had internet on your phone or smartphones. And so I brought out a book and I
Hmm.
read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Nice.
And that was the first book that I ever read cover to cover. And it just absolutely woke me up and changed my life. And so that kind of brought a whole new perspective to where I was like, wow, there's, you know, this is the ticket. I just need
Hmm.
to start thinking like this. And so I kind of went through Robert Kiyosaki's series with the quadrants and all that kind of stuff, and read that. And then I just started reading more, and I just kind of developed this like burning hunger to just self-development, learning more and what I could do with it. And so that's kind of my grandfather, whom I never got to meet, had grown a international engineering company.
Oh, wow.
And I grew up in a household that was we were middle class, and statistics say that middle class is the hardest class to break
Yeah.
free, because you're just raised in a spot where you're kind of comfortable,
Hmm.
and it's very more traditional. You go to school, you get a job, and you make your money, you pay your bills, and then you die. And I was like, well, no, there's got to be more to life. And so just seeing, not even meeting him, because he passed away right before I was born, but just knowing his story and his legacy that he left, it just kind of gave me the hope that that gene was inside of me
Hmm.
somewhere. And so, reading that book was like, I can do this. And so it just becomes the domino effect, just living that core value better than yesterday. You're not going to know where you're going. I like to think of it as you're road tripping from Southern California to New York in the dark, and all you've got is the headlights showing you the next 100 yards in front of you, and you know where to go that next 100 yards. And once you get to the next 100 yards, you know where the next 100 yards
Hmm.
are in front of you, at least what you see outside the GPS. But, that just that's kind of what the journey is with self-development. You don't know what you don't know until you just keep going a little bit further. You might not know what all the steps are of where you want to go, but you just know what the next step is.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is a very common first book for a lot of people. It shows you
Yeah.
that there's so much more to life and business that many people teach you, whether it's your parents, the school system. Like, there's so much. He's a perfect example. His real dad was like, "Oh, you're just gonna, get a job, be
Yeah.
content." And then Rich Dad's like, "No, man, like, go get it, go make it happen." So,
Oh yeah.
phenomenal book, and I can't recommend it enough for people that haven't read that or maybe aren't reading at all. It's a great way to start.
Absolutely.
Is there another book that stands out? Because me personally, like, I will always remember my first book and then my favorite book, the one that impacts me the most. So is there one that has
There's a
another?
few. There's a few. I would say Think and Grow Rich by
Mhm.
Napoleon Hill. That's going to be forever be one of the greatest books ever
Yeah.
written on self-development. I think that's the OG book of self-development too. And then Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence
Yep.
People was another just aha moment. Another one that was more recent was the Four Agreements.
Okay.
That was
I
a
haven't
really
read that
good
one
one.
yet.
That's a real good one. It's a short read, but it's real good.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I'd say those four are some good ones if you're just getting into this.
Yeah.
So
Those are great.
and need to get some belief in yourself. Those are great starting points.
Yeah.
And then of course Michael Gerber's E-Myth is
Mm,
a good classic as well now. So
awesome. Matt, you mentioned before that you on another podcast that you had mentors. I'm not sure if you still do, but you started out learning from Ed Mylett, Andy Frisella, some of the greatest business leaders in our time right now. What did you, or first of all, how did you get started with that? And what were the lessons that you learned?
I'm still getting lessons from them
Good.
every day because I'm part of one of their the Arte Syndicate group with them. And so uh, there's I mean, the best advice is to just really go see somebody doing what you want to do and go copy them,
Hmm.
and I used to get advice from people that were just a few steps ahead of me. And I think it's still important to keep those people close because you can get more tactical advice in your journey. But Ed and Andy, man, they're on a whole nother level, and
Yeah.
just getting advice and absorbing from them and just knowing what it's like just to be around somebody that has built and runs $100 million companies.
Hmm.
It rubs off on you, and there's a certain aura that you can start to absorb, and just a mindset and where you actually need to put your energy. And I mean, if nothing else, they taught me to build the people, and the people built the company. And so I
Hmm.
think that's what's really helped us start to get the momentum and the growth that we've been experiencing. Is just being involved with very strategic mentorships, and that I put my time and energy into.
Awesome. Do you think you would be where you are right now in business without those mentors?
No, not
No,
at all. Absolutely not. So
that's good. And just for anyone
there
out
is
here, yeah,
no such thing as a self-made man. Anybody that
yeah,
says that is not is wrong.
yep.
It takes a community of people to build anybody, and
Hmm.
it takes an army of people to make somebody wealthy. So
Yep.
yep.
Yeah, great message. And for anyone out there that might not have Ed Mylett's phone number, you don't have the money to get coached by Andy Frisella. Like, Ed is a author, Andy is a podcast host. Like, you can still get information.
They put 90% of that stuff out there for free.
Yep, exactly.
I get access to some very exclusive stuff being in their group, but yeah, there's so much information out there for free, but just
Hmm.
be careful who you're getting it from.
Yep.
There's self-development in the coaching world has become a highly diluted place from people that haven't been there, done that. And
Hmm.
so, it's uh, just be mindful of who you're taking that advice from. You don't want to take financial advice from somebody that's broker than you, just
Yeah.
like you don't want to take business advice from somebody that hasn't done what you're trying to do.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the best advice I would have for someone is just find those people out there, find those, high end coaches or influencers, whatever that you know, think are appealing to you, read their content, listen to them, and find those like 2 to 3 to really hone in on. Maybe it's just one and just find everything, every YouTube video, every podcast, every book, and just read it all, do it all. Awesome. You're starting a podcast soon, right? You want to
We
give yourself
are,
a
yeah.
plug?
Yeah, sure. We are starting a podcast soon, The Artist, and soon starting our own closed group with The Artist Down and Dirty. So working name, still working out the details, but that'll be a group where you can get access to me and the people that I know, where we can just share more mindset pieces and get together a couple times. We'll have a closed Facebook group to just kind of build each other up and make sure that we're all holding each other accountable.
That's
So
awesome. Matt, two more questions for you. First one, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What keeps you moving day to day?
it would be easy for me to just stay in bed because I've got a very comfortable life. I love my home. I love everything that I've got. We've got enough to travel now and have some expendable income. And if it were just that drove me, I would be complacent. So
Mhm.
what drives me now is wanting to build 12 millionaires within my company, and just
Nice.
knowing that I can create more people to achieve this kind of success, so long as they're willing to come join our team and put in the work with me and join the self-development journey as well. And so, I don't want to stop until I achieve that, and see those people that have committed their lives to building the Hiner brand achieve that level of success. And once we achieve that goal, I want to see what it looks like for them to build other
Mhm.
millionaires. Back to what I said, leaders building leaders. And so that's what gets me up in the morning, and as well as just getting people connected back to the outdoors. Our mission here at Hiner is to get people off their phones and connecting
Mhm.
with people around the fire pit, listening to the water, get grounded with Mother Nature. So if we can put you on vacation in your backyard outside, you're living life. And I want you to
Yeah.
have that.
Two awesome points right there. The first one, just want to point out what you said about helping other people become millionaires. So we talked about success a little bit earlier. Success, yeah, it might be financial for you or family, travel, whatever, but success doesn't end just with your bank account or where you're able to travel. Success is impacting those around you, impacting your team and helping them get to that level. And that is what true leaders do. True successful people in our world and our society are ones that they want to go that extra mile. They want to, when it's all said and done, they're like, hey, I actually impacted people that I'm around. Or like you said, with getting people outdoors more, you're not just like, hey, I'm going to serve these people, do a project, whatever. Like, I want to help them detach from their phones. I want them to have a better experience in their own backyard. So I love those two messages. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah. Last question for you. If you were to give our audience one piece of advice, one step of action, anything to leave them with, what would that be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Better than yesterday. Just be in competition with yourself, and turn on the blinders of comparison. Just be where your feet are.
Love that. Matt, it's been a pleasure. Everybody, make sure you check out The Artist on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us, dropping some value, and sharing some awesome stories. It's been a great time. Thank you.
Matt, appreciate you having me on.